don't have to be American to know that it's time to abolish the H-1B visa completely and rework work authorization in the US for international people. My name is April. Thanks for visiting my channel, and I'm a tech recruiter. I'm always asking people about their work authorization, and I've formed a lot of opinions about the visa after working in the industry. I have 4 main reasons in this video why I think we need to get rid of the visa. I don't really have an opinion on what to do, just opinions on not what to do, because it is part of my daily life. But H-1B visa, it was created with the Immigration Act of 1990 by George W. Bush. It was intended for American firms that did not have enough staff to grow their firms and essentially grow the tech industry at the rate that it was able to grow. There's also an H1, or I think it's H4A, I don't know what it is. There's one for nursing and healthcare as well, but H1B is tech specific, and it's been around for over 20 years with some alterations made. Originally it was for people in India, but they have expanded now to Chile and Singapore in 2003 with some amendments made. But generally speaking, this has been around for a long time. Let's talk about the first reason I think we need to get rid of the H-1B visa. Well, there's not really that many. So the most common way that people get H-1B visa, they come to the US for university. That's why you may see people who have a bachelor's degree in a university overseas, but they come get a master's degree, sometimes even a PhD in the US. That affords them the chance to get a work authorization, an OPT student visa that they can parlay into work, as well as obviously the networking opportunities that come with the US. Some countries still view US colleges as being better colleges. Some countries view having education at a US university as a sign of being elite or upper class. That happens a lot, but anyone who graduates from a university in the US is eligible for an OPT visa. That's a 1-year extension to their student visa that allows them the opportunity to get a job. Now, under this OPT visa, you have to be doing something: part-time work, apprenticeship work, internship work, or maybe even full-time work under some sort of contract. You can't really start a full-time job until this visa can be extended up to 3 years for people in STEM, meaning that they can legally work in the US under the OPT visa, but eventually they need to apply for H-1B. H-1B usually provides people the opportunity to stay for 6 years. So often you'll see the amount of time people are in the US with H-1Bs between 6 to 8 years, and there are only 100,000 H-1B visas given out. It used to be 60,000. It was amended a few years ago. And you ask, how many people are applying for an H-1B visa? Well, another way that people get the H-1B visa, they are so good and so well known at their particular niche, technology, or skill set that they have, that a US company sponsors them straight from their foreign country. And I know that used to happen more in the past, and it still does happen. Most commonly, people come to the US for a bachelor's, master's, PhD degree to get the OPT visa, but an amount of that 100,000 H-1B visa is specifically for people who are just so bright and talented overseas that they get brought over. How many people with OPT visas are applying for H-1B? Well, last year it was 180,000 OPT visas that were given out. That's a relatively low number. In the past, it had been 250 to 300,000 or more. The number of H-1B visas are not dependent on the number of people applying for them. And now more than ever, especially during the recession, I'm seeing the number of people who need H-1B visa sponsorship versus the number of jobs available for them not really quite matching. Not every company is going to sponsor an H-1B visa. Each company has a limited number of people that they can sponsor, and they have to ask for credits to give out for H-1B visas, so it's not like they can hire everyone that they want at a drop of the hat. Some companies aren't even set up to hire H-1B visas, and some companies won't even work with OPT visas. Just imagine it, you're working with someone, you hire someone under OPT visa, they're able to stay there 2 years, but around the time it comes to apply for H-1B, they are not able to get that limited number visa, they're not able to get the H-1B visa. So what happens? There's no choice. That person has to leave the country. You potentially have to let that person go and have to replace them on your team. That means a lot of companies really don't even want to work with OPT visa holders. But that parlays into my second reason I think we need to get rid of the H-1B visa. I think it creates a terrible candidate and employee process for these people, almost making them second-level citizens. But let me get into it. First, with the candidate process. Like I said, not every company is going to sponsor H-1B, and not everyone hiring for a company knows how to guess that someone has an H-1B. Here are the hints. They have a bachelor's degree from a foreign university. They have a master's, PhD, or another bachelor's from a US university. Maybe they contracted or did internships before parlaying into either a series of contracts or a job at a larger company, most likely known for sponsoring H-1B visas. In that candidate process, they're going to interview for a lot of companies that don't want to sponsor H-1B, that don't want to hire people with any sort of work authorization complications like an H-1B visa. So I heard from a candidate myself, for every 10 HR phone screens, I believe it was 60% of them, he was automatically disqualified because of his work authorization status. Not because he didn't like the job, not because he wasn't qualified for the job, simply because they would not hire someone with H-1B. And it is completely legal for that to be the reason. Companies are fully entitled to discriminate against candidates for having an H-1B visa. Now, I'm not an employment lawyer. I don't really know much. All right, so I'm sure there's a case where that's possible, but generally speaking, I'm sure that's going to be really hard to prove, and there's some justification behind not being able to hire someone on H-1B visa. One of them could even be the timeline. Right now, the timelines for getting any sort of visa transfer or work authorization status update, the timelines are so much faster. So that's another reason that people are not getting to move to the next step of the interview process. It's just even the wait for visas. So I think it creates a really terrible interview process for these people, kind of treating them more like cattle, which is not what America is known for. We're supposed to treat people humanely. Another aspect is the 60-day grace period. If you have an H-1B visa, even an OPT visa, you have only 60 days that you can be unemployed. Say you are fired or laid off. Well, the day that it happens, you have 60 days to get a new job. That's not really enough time, especially if you are a high-earning employee. Usually your interview processes take months and months and months. So if you are unexpectedly laid off, like during a recession, similar to what we are in now, and you have an H-1B visa, you suddenly have to scramble to go find a job where your American peers may be able to take 6 months off. Maybe they are able to get unemployment and they don't have to rush. They have work authorization. I don't think that's really how we should be treating professional and qualified people in this country, in the work environment in general. But it's not just the interview process. A lot of companies that hire H-1B visas en masse, well, they tend to see H-1B visa holders as cheap employment. Well, why is that? Part of it could be because of the true nature. It's hard to get an employee to sponsor your H-1B visa. So most candidates are willing to put up with a less appealing job, or maybe a job that doesn't have that much career future, simply because they will sponsor the H-1B. Often I'll see people who are at companies like Wells Fargo for 6 years until they're able to apply for a green card, which also is a long queue itself. Green card is just a long process, and some people have the wait of 60 years, so it's completely something else. We'll talk about it later. Companies like Bank of America and Wells Fargo, they will really target H-1B people, and it can be kind of demoralizing to know that you are a highly educated professional that's really good at your job, and the only place that you can get a job is at a company that doesn't really work with exciting technology, has no career prospects, and in general treats you like you are cheap labor because of your work authorization status. That is not the kind of work environment that we should be offering in this country. Everyone should be treated equally, but because of how the system is set up now, it really creates a lot of opportunity for this unfair treatment. And this parlays into my next point, that I think the H-1B visa creates a lot of opportunity for exploitation. Now, someone has to, quote, own your visa with H-1B. So if you work at Google with H-1B, that means Google owns your H-1B. There's a lot of predatory companies out there that will offer H-1B sponsorship easily to people so that they can contract them out to work for other companies. A lot of these are really small consultancy companies that have private LTD in the name, or it could even be companies like Tata Consulting that obviously have a lot of opportunity to sponsor visas, especially if you are a junior in your career or new to the country. These countries really target some people and try to be the middleman, where they contract these employees out to companies and take off a hefty amount of the profit that they make, leading these H-1B holders to be exploited not only in their lack of career growth, but they're not getting a big cut of the money that they're making. Sometimes if you look at the numbers, the company will bill $120, but the engineer who's doing all the work only gets $70 an hour. That's not really fair and obvious exploitation, but that's not the only aspect. If you have H-1B visa, you can't really leave your employer. You have to transfer your H-1B visa to a new employer. So you have to have it locked down. You might have to take time off work to transfer the visa. And there are times when you're not able to find anyone to transfer your visa to. I am not an employment lawyer, so I don't know. Maybe in the comments you can let me know, is there a time that H-1B visas can't be transferred to an employer, truly making you stuck? I know I talked to a Uber engineer once who said he didn't want to leave his employer until they finished the green card process because it was such a long process and he didn't want to risk it. Well, that means he's kind of stuck at Uber. That's not really fun. And it's not really fun to be someone in the American industry where you see tons of fast companies growing, offering lots of opportunity for growth and advancement, and you are stuck at this big, boring corporate company. You can't quit because your work authorization is attached to that company. That really sucks. We need to get rid of that system and rework it. The last reason I think we should get rid of the H-1B visa, and the biggest reason, the reason I talk about on my channel all the time, I do not think that there is a tech talent gap anymore for most roles, and I don't think that American firms need help staffing in the tech industry. So let's talk about it. Really, H-1B is not meant to help people immigrate to the US long term. H-1B is a temporary worker. You only have 6 years on H-1B. Even if you are ready to apply for a green card, who says you're going to get it? A lot of people find themselves, they come to America, they work here for years, they're on the H-1B visa, suddenly they can't get it renewed in time, something happens, they have to sell their house, maybe they lose their house completely, and suddenly have to leave the country, build a new career in what is essentially in their career life is a foreign country. I mean, even if they speak that and they were born in that country, they never had to have the tech career in that country. So that is a foreign country. The nature of H-1B and that it creates tech workers shows that H-1B is for tech talent gaps. Well, we don't really have that anymore. I think for roles that are more front end, like front end engineer, product UX, UI designers, there are plenty of those people on the job market, and a lot of them can't find jobs. We do not need any more support in the US for those kind of jobs, but people are still going to be getting H-1B visas to be front-end engineers. It's just creating more competition in the tech environment. It was like this before the recession, but now as we move into a recession with more layoffs, I could expect this to be a more obvious problem. Even when it comes to cloud technology, data, or more back-end work, there's still a lot of competition in these fields. There's only a slim number of jobs in the tech industry in the US where there truly is a tech talent gap and truly is a need to, quote, I guess, import workers from overseas. So the tech talent gap is a myth. This leads to my last reason I think we need to get rid of the H-1B visa. It's old. As we talk about it, we can tell it's old. It hasn't been updated since, I believe, 2009. That's 13 years. 13 years. So we have updated the minimum wage in a lot of states. We've had we have updated the minimum wage in a lot of states. We've revoked Roe versus Wade. A lot has happened in the past 13 years, but that was only a minimal change in 2009. Really, this is an amendment from 2003, 2000. We could even call it from the 1990s. That's 32 years old. That is way too old. We have new problems in the tech industry now, which include insanely high tech salaries, unmatched expectations on remote and in-person working, and a really competitive work environment compared to past environments. H-1B is old and outdated, and we need to get rid of it. Not only for people who are overseas trying to come to the US, to give them a better working environment, give them a better environment and to give them a better working environment, to give them better opportunities, and to treat them like equal humans in the work environment, but also to create less competition for Americans and US workers in America. Now, I know, please don't come at me. I would say that this is a new attitude towards H-1B. This is a super old visa, and in 2022, especially as layoffs come, yes, some of these people with H-1B are competing with Americans for the same job. If you don't want to agree, then just give it a few months. You'll see it in the economy. Please subscribe to my channel too so you can be up to date. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you agree with me? Does H-1B suck? Are you on H-1B? And do you have any great horror stories? Because I hear a lot of really sad stories of people having to rip their whole life apart because suddenly they don't have work authorization in the US because of the H-1B visa. So please share that in the comments below. Let me know. I want to hear it. And subscribe to my channel if you are in the tech industry or you just want to hear about tech economy news, even if you don't work in the industry. Thanks for watching this video and checking out my channel. And please do subscribe. I really hope for it. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.